Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air, the deadly explosions one day after pagers detonated. Today, our team at a funeral when walkie-talkies began exploding with deadly force. Also tonight, the Delta flight, the emergency landing, reports passengers bleeding from their ears. And the economy tonight, the Fed taking drastic steps today to cut interest rates, with gas prices now coming down too. First tonight, the graphic images coming in. For the second day in a row, hundreds of wireless devices simultaneously exploding across Lebanon. Our team in Beirut, about 20 feet from one of the blasts. At least 20 people killed today, more than 30 dead now, thousands more wounded. 24 hours ago, pagers exploding with deadly force. Today, a wave of walkie-talkies exploding too. Devices that had been given to members of Hezbollah. How did these explosives work? Tonight, what we've learned about the remote trigger. Marcus Moore witnessing the blasts in Beirut firsthand, and Martha Raddatz in the region tonight on how these devices were set off. Also tonight, the major news back here at home, a major turn for the U.S. economy. The Federal Reserve today cutting a key interest rate by 0.5%, the largest cut in 16 years, signaling the Fed believes the U.S. has turned the corner now on inflation. What this now means for mortgages, credit cards, car loans. And it comes with gas prices coming down too, 48 days before the election. Breaking news in New York City at this hour. Sean Diddy Combs back in court late today. His attorneys complaining about the conditions behind bars. What the judge said moments ago. The alarming hayride accident tonight. More than 24 children and adults, some with life-threatening injuries at this hour after an accident involving a tractor and 2 wagons. The race for president tonight, the Teamsters union says it will not endorse Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. But tonight, Vice President Harris saying she's received the endorsement of 100 Republicans who worked in national security for Presidents Reagan, both Bushes, and for President Trump, now endorsing Harris for president. And the new polls right here tonight, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, where this race stands right now. We're learning more about that Delta flight. The emergency landing reports that passengers were bleeding from their ears amid problems with pressurization in the cabin. In France tonight, that case gripping the country and much of Europe. The wife who did not have to go public today taking the stand, testifying against her ex-husband after he admitted to committing the unthinkable. And America Strong tonight, you'll know them from the movie. What they did for NASA, the major honor tonight, hidden no more.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we begin tonight with the sweeping and deadly attacks. 24 hours ago, it was pagers going off with deadly force. Today, as hundreds gathered for funerals across Lebanon, walkie-talkies began detonating, killing many more. Our team just about 20 feet away from the second wave of explosions today, reporting on a funeral in Beirut. The wireless devices that have been given to members of Hezbollah blowing up by remote control. At least 20 people were killed today, more than 30 dead in the last 48 hours, thousands injured. Israel has not claimed responsibility, but tonight officials tell ABC News Israel is behind it. The stunning images right here. Our team there at a funeral for victims of yesterday's blasts, witnessing the second wave of blasts, the chaos, the injured falling to the ground. Women and children watching from balconies and apartments above the street, wailing at a second round of deadly blasts. Some of these new explosions also triggering fires, a fleet of ambulances rushing to multiple scenes. Tonight, Martha Raddatz standing by with how these devices worked. And we begin with ABC's foreign correspondent Marcus Moore, who witnessed the second wave firsthand in Beirut today.
Tonight, the moment an explosion tears through a Beirut funeral. Our team there filming when just 20 feet away,
roll.
The crowd panicking in the chaos, screaming. A man, bloody, falls to the ground, injured in what we now know to be a new phase of coordinated, deadly attacks across Lebanon.
We just heard a loud explosion, and I saw a man whose hands were gone, and then somebody pulled out a weapon, and people scattered.
Terror and confusion on the faces of children watching from the balcony of a nearby apartment, running inside. Just 24 hours ago, pagers loaded with explosives killed 2 Hezbollah militants, a nurse, and a 10-year-old boy, all buried today. And this time, handheld radios detonating in crowds, in shops, and in apartments. Lebanese officials saying solar energy equipment also targeted. At least 20 people killed today, more than 30 in the last 48 hours, and thousands injured.
And David, Beirut and really much of the country is on edge tonight, and we have been hearing the sounds of controlled detonations of suspected explosive devices going off all across the city this evening. But tonight, David, the major question is, how will Hezbollah respond? David.
Marcus Moore, we're glad you and the crew are okay covering those funerals today. Thank you. Martha Raddatz is also in the region tonight with what she's learned now about the explosives and the trigger switches planted inside.
Tonight, stunning new reporting on those unprecedented attacks. This scene at a grocery store. Watch as a pager explodes inside a shopping bag. The man goes down. Sources tell ABC News Israeli agents planted explosives in the pagers as well as a remote trigger switch to set off the blast. Those pagers sold to Hezbollah more than 6 months ago. And that's when analysts say Israel likely stepped in with what a U.S. official called a supply chain interdiction operation, meaning Israel tampered with a shipment of thousands of pagers headed to Lebanon. As little as 1 to 2 ounces of explosive material was implanted next to the battery, sources say. The pagers received a message at 3:30 Tuesday afternoon that triggered the blast. Israel hasn't commented on the attacks, but today, U.S. officials confirming to ABC News that Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin was among those notified by Israel that it was planning to carry out an operation against Hezbollah, but U.S. officials say they were unaware of the details.
We were not involved in yesterday's incidents or today's in any way.
And David, while U.S. officials have repeatedly said the U.S. was not involved in the attacks in any way, they have not condemned the attacks either. David?
Martha Raddatz also live in the region tonight. Martha, thank you. To the news now back here at home tonight, the Federal Reserve with the biggest interest rate cut in 16 years today. It's a sign the Fed believes the U.S. has now turned a corner on inflation. The aggressive cut, 0.5%. What this now means for car loans, mortgages, credit card debt. Here's Rebecca Jarvis.
Tonight, welcome relief for millions of Americans after the Federal Reserve moved aggressively to slash interest rates by 0.5 percentage point, an unusually large cut, and the first decrease in 4 years.
The U.S. economy is in good shape. It's growing at a solid pace. Inflation is coming down. The labor market is in a strong pace. We want to keep it there.
The Warren family has been trying to pay off over $15,000 in credit card debt.
A reduction in interest is actually really kind of a breath of fresh air because I feel like we can never get ahead. I just feel like this is going to help make a bigger dent in getting back on track.
I get really excited.
Today's cut also helping to pave the way for potential home buyers like Kate Pexa, who told our Elizabeth Schulze falling mortgage rates are a game changer.
Would it mean hundreds of dollars less on a property like this? Yes, absolutely.
Every month.
Wow.
Kate is hoping to get more house for her money.
With mortgage rates going down, I am excited for an opportunity to maybe open some doors to some properties that I did not originally foresee as possible.
David, this is a major move, signaling the Fed's made real progress in its fight against inflation. For example, gas prices have come down considerably. It's also a sign the Fed is paying very close attention to the recently cooling jobs market, even though unemployment is still historically low. This was the last Fed decision before the election in just 48 days. David?
Our chief economics correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis. Rebecca, thanks. We're following a breaking headline at this hour involving Sean Diddy Combs back in court late today. His attorneys complaining about the conditions behind bars. What the judge said about that. Aaron Katersky was in the courtroom.
Tonight, Sean Combs is back behind bars, a judge ignoring the hip-hop mogul's complaints about dire jail conditions and denying bail after allegations Combs led a criminal enterprise that abused women. His defense team had offered a $50 million bail package, putting up his Miami mansion as collateral. His attorneys providing these pictures to show its value, also offering to restrict female visitors to family. But prosecutors objected, calling Combs a danger to the community, harping on his alleged use of force, threats, and coercion to enact his will, protect his reputation, and fulfill his sexual desires.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them.
Prosecutors saying devices allegedly containing videos of those freak-offs were seized during raids on Combs' homes in Los Angeles and Miami. And in his closet, agents saying they found AR-15s with serial numbers defaced. Combs was initially denied bail after pleading not guilty to racketeering, sex trafficking, and prostitution charges.
The indictment describes aggressive, open, violent, hedonistic abuse that you say was recurrent and widely known. Why did it take law enforcement so long to intervene?
Look, our investigation is ongoing. We are committed to bringing justice to everyone who's been victimized by the defendant. I can't tell you why it took so long.
I was just in court. David Combs cast his eyes downward when he was ordered back to jail, and tonight he's in a special housing unit where his attorneys call conditions horrific. David?
Aaron Katersky with us again tonight here. Aaron, thank you. We turned out of the race for the White House, the powerful Teamsters union tonight, refusing to endorse Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. But tonight, Vice President Harris says she's received the endorsement of 100 Republicans who worked in national security for Presidents Reagan, both Bushes, and for President Trump, now endorsing Harris for president. And it all comes amid new polls in the key battlegrounds tonight, what they show. Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, the powerhouse Teamsters union announcing that for the first time in nearly 30 years, it will not endorse in the presidential race. Union President Sean O'Brien declaring neither major candidate was able to make serious commitments to our union to ensure the interests of working people are always put before big business. Both campaigns went all out for the Teamsters. Former President Donald Trump even inviting O'Brien to address the Republican National Convention.
At the end of the day, the Teamsters are not interested if you have a D, R, or an I next to your name. We want to know one thing. What are you doing to help American workers?
But Trump also sparking anger among unions when he praised billionaire Elon Musk for threatening to fire striking workers.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone, so every one of you is gone.
The Teamsters president said that amounted to, quote, economic terrorism. Vice President Kamala Harris, who has walked the picket line with striking auto workers and has the backing of major unions, including the AFL-CIO, met with the Teamsters board on Monday to try and win their support. Today, her campaign said she stands by her promise to, quote, look out for Teamsters rank and file no matter what. This evening, Trump calling the Teamsters' decision not to endorse a win for him.
It was always automatic that Democrats get the Teamsters, and they said we won't endorse the Democrats this year. So that was an honor for me.
But Harris tonight announcing a significant endorsement of her own. 100 Republican former national security officials now backing her, calling Trump unfit to serve. In a letter, the officials who served under Reagan, both Presidents Bush and Trump himself, said as commander-in-chief, Trump promoted daily chaos in government, praised our enemies and undermined our allies, politicized the military and disparaged our veterans, prioritized his personal interests above American interests, and betrayed our values, democracy, and this country's founding documents.
So let's bring in Rachel Scott. She's live tonight at a major rally there for Donald Trump on Long Island. And Rachel, I know you have some new poll numbers tonight in the key battlegrounds.
Yes, David, and thousands turning out here on Long Island for the former president. New York is not a battleground state, but we are getting a snapshot at just how close this race is in three of the battleground states that could decide this election. A new Quinnipiac poll showing that in Pennsylvania, Harris is up 6 points, leading Donald Trump 51-45. In Michigan, Harris with a 5-point edge at 50%, Trump at 45%. And in Wisconsin, it is virtually a dead heat with Harris at 48%, Trump at 47%. David, both campaigns going all out in those states, trying to win over voters. David.
Rachel Scott on the campaign trail again tonight. Thank you, Rachel. Overseas tonight to France and to the trial shaking much of Europe. A woman taking the stand, testifying today against her ex-husband. She did not have to go public, but she chose to. Tom Soufi Burridge in France tonight.
Tonight, France rallying around this woman, Gisèle Pélicot, whose husband of 50 years is charged with committing horrific crimes against her for nearly a decade. Dominic Pélicot admitting in court that he drugged his then-wife without her knowledge and recruited dozens of strangers online to rape and sexually abuse her as many as 200 times. Gisèle Pélicot telling her supporters, "Grâce à vous tous. Thanks to everyone, I have the strength to fight this battle to the end." She chose a public trial revealing her identity to shine a spotlight on sexual violence against women. Gisèle Pélicot insisting the shame be on her husband and the 50 other co-defendants, not her. In court today, she hit out at claims from some of the accused that they didn't know she hadn't consented, calling them, quote, degenerates. Her ex-husband and father of their 3 children telling the court on Tuesday, quote, "I am a rapist," and saying his co-defendants are too. He went on to say, "She didn't deserve this. I recognise that." And David, I can tell you criminal trials here in France rarely spark protests, but thousands of people have rallied in support of Gisèle Pélicot and against sexual violence against women. David?
Rallying behind that ex-wife. Tom Soufi-Burge. Tom, thank you. Back here in the U.S. tonight, a children's field trip to an apple orchard has taken a horrific turn in Chippewa County, Wisconsin. Authorities say more than 24 children and adults were all hurt in a crash involving a tractor and 2 hay wagons. Several victims suffering life-threatening injuries. They were rushed to the hospital. When we come back here tonight, the Delta flight making an emergency landing, reports of passengers bleeding from their ears, what we've learned about this. And then later, America Strong tonight. You will definitely know them from a famous movie. The major honor tonight, Hidden No More. Tonight, we're learning more about a Delta flight making an emergency landing because of a pressurization issue. There are reports some passengers were bleeding from their ears and noses. The plane was flying from Salt Lake City to Portland, Oregon. The problem just after takeoff Sunday. Delta tonight saying the plane was unable to pressurize above 10,000 feet. Tonight, the FAA says it is now investigating. When we come back here tonight, the images coming in right now, the volcano erupting on Hawaii, and you'll see it. And the movie you'll remember tonight, the major honor now for the real-life heroes. To the index, and tonight, Mount Kilauea erupting in Hawaii. Pools of lava pouring from the volcano in a remote area of the national park there. Authorities say there's no immediate threat. Residents are being warned, though, about air quality, volcanic gases over the next several days there. When we come back here tonight, you'll know them from the movie. The honor now for some real-life heroes.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, sponsored by Vivgard Hytrulo and Vivgard.
Finally tonight here, America Strong, Hidden No More.
Tonight, the honor, long overdue. Congress's highest honor, the Congressional Gold Medal, awarded to the hidden figures of the space race, Hidden No More. Mary Jackson was an engineer and a pioneer.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Part of a small group of black women hired as mathematicians at NASA, helping America win the space race. She was known as one of the human computers at Langley. Her role portrayed in the film Hidden Figures by actress Janelle Monáe.
If you were a white male, would you wish to be an engineer?
I wouldn't have to. I'd already be one.
Jackson became the first black female engineer at NASA in 1958. There was Dr. Darden, known for her sonic boom research. Dorothy Vaughan, NASA's first black supervisor, portrayed by Octavia Spencer in Hidden Figures.
My gals are ready. They can do the work.
And Katherine Johnson, calculating the precise trajectories that would allow Apollo 11 to land on the moon.
Math is always dependable.
Johnson's role portrayed by Taraji P. Henson in the movie.
We can calculate launch and landing, but without this conversion, the capsule stays in orbit. We can't bring it back home.
And when her daughter asked all those years later, what if someone questioned you?
What happened if somebody questioned your work?
Tough. Tough, and so was she. A true American pioneer, they all were. And late today at the U.S. Capitol, lawmakers from both sides of the aisle gathering to present Congress's highest honor to the families, the Congressional Gold Medal. The next generation, NASA's Andrea Mosey accepting the medal for those women who worked as human computers during that time.
It is quite an honor and a privilege to be here representing the many women of Apollo and the space program who dedicated their lives and talent to making sure the sky is never the limit.
An extraordinary honor, long overdue. I'm David Muir. I'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.